If you're thinking about running ads because growth feels slow, pause, because paid ads aren't the shortcut most people think they are. Later in this video, I'm going to show you the one signal you need to see before you ever spend money. Because once you understand that, paid stops feeling risky and starts feeling controlled. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Stephen, and on this channel, I break down marketing in a way that actually makes sense, without hype and without pretending it's more complicated than it needs to be. If you're thinking about running ads right now, just pause for a second. Not because paid ads are bad, but because they're powerful, and powerful things used at the wrong time can feel like a loss. You might not be new to business, you might not even be new to marketing, but you could be new to amplification. And that's where most people trip up. They feel momentum dip, inquiry slow, sales plateau, and the instinct is, let's put some money behind this. Boost a post, run some ads, get more traffic. But paid ads aren't the first move. They're the amplification move. And if you amplify something that hasn't been proven yet, you don't get growth, you get expensive feedback. That's the shift I want to make in this video, because paid ads do work incredibly well, just not at the stage most people try to use them. There's a sequence to this. Organic proves that something works. Paid scales something that already works, and if what's there isn't working yet, paid won't fix it. It will just make the weakness visible faster. Before we go any further, let's be clear about what we're actually talking about. Now, in marketing, this is often explained through models like paid, earned, shared, and owned media. Those frameworks are useful, but if you're not a marketeer by trade, you don't need to think about it in that level of complexity right now. So we're going to keep things simple. When I say organic marketing, I mean attention you earn. That could be your content, your emails, your posts, your referrals, your positioning. It's visibility built through clarity and consistency. And when I say paid marketing, I mean attention you rent. You're paying a platform to distribute your message. This could be boosting a post, running ads through Meta, Google ads, YouTube ads, paid search or paid social. Now, neither is better, they just do different jobs. Organic builds signal, paid builds scale. And to make this practical, we're going to think about it in three clear phases: validation, alignment, and amplification. The problem is most people try to use scale before they've built signal. And that's where money starts disappearing. Let me show you what this looks like. Let's start with the first phase, validation. This is the step most people try to rush because validation feels slow and paid feels like action. Let me show you how this plays out. Imagine a small independent gym owner. They launch a new coaching offer. They post about it, they get a few likes, a couple of comments, one or two inquiries. Feels okay, but not decisive. So they think, maybe I just need more reach. They boost a post, they widen the audience. They put money behind it. Impressions increase, traffic increases, sign-ups don't. The conclusion, ads don't work. But that wasn't the issue. There wasn't enough signal. Now, to be fair, there is a version of this where paid can be used deliberately to test. I've done that myself. Sometimes you use small budgets not to scale, but to fail faster, to pressure test a message, to see how cold traffic responds, to gather data quickly. But that's very different from using paid to try and force growth. Testing with controlled spend is a tactic. Scaling without signal is a gamble. And if you're a small business or a solopreneur where budget actually matters, you don't want your learning curve to be expensive. Organic gives you information more slowly, but often far more affordably. Now let me give you a real example from my own experience. I worked in online financial trading. At one point, we increased paid traffic significantly. Traffic spiked, the numbers looked impressive, but conversions didn't move in proportion. And what that exposed wasn't an ads problem, it exposed a clarity problem. Our landing pages weren't optimized. There were too many calls to action, more than one message competing for attention, and no single clear journey. Paid didn't break the system, it revealed the weakness in it. And another pattern we saw consistently in the space was engagement could be high, but the wrong audience would lean in. When I first entered that industry, a significant portion of new interest came from people attracted by the idea of fast financial gains, short-term wins, quick returns, high excitement. But the positioning we were trying to build was about sustainability, risk awareness, long-term discipline. So when paid amplified broadly, it often amplified curiosity and not commitment. Again, not an ads problem, a validation and alignment problem. And I was always in the camp of this: you don't spend budget for the sake of it. There's an old mindset in marketing that if you don't spend all of your allocated budget, you're in trouble. I never believed that. You put money behind things when they're warranted, not when you're impatient, because here's the shift. Ads don't create demand, they reveal whether demand already exists. Validation is about proving without amplification that something works. Are the right people responding? Is the message clear? Is conversion happening organically? Is there evidence that this resonates? If the answer is no, that's not failure, it's information. And it's much cheaper to gather that information before you amplify. Paid should scale proof, not try to manufacture it. So before you think about ads, the real question isn't, how do I get more reach? It's, have I proven this works without amplification? Because if signal isn't there yet, scale just gets expensive. And in a moment, I'll show you why even validated offers still fail when alignment is off. Because this is where things quietly break. Even if you validated something organically, there's another layer most people miss: alignment. Because validation answers the question, is there interest? Alignment answers the question, is it the right interest? And this is where things quietly break. Let's go back to the gym example. They post content consistently, they talk about training, they share transformations, they build engagement. People comment, people like it. Some even inquire, so they think, great, let's scale this. But when they look closer, the people inquiring are price sensitive, looking for discounts, interested in casual access, not premium coaching. So what happens if they run ads at this point? They amplify to the wrong audience. Paid doesn't fix that, it accelerates it. Now let's take the online coach. They've built an audience around motivational content, inspirational posts, mindset quotes, high engagement, and they launch a high ticket program. But the audience has been conditioned for free inspiration, not paid transformation. Again, interest exists, but alignment doesn't. Paid at this stage doesn't solve that gap, it widens it. Now think about e-commerce. Organic traction builds around discount messaging. Promotions perform well. Sales posts get engagement, but the brand wants premium positioning. If they run ads based on the content that performs best organically, they may end up scaling discount behavior. That's not an ads problem, that's alignment. And this is the uncomfortable truth. If the right people aren't leaning in organically, paid won't magically make them lean in. It will simply put your current message in front of more of the same type of person. And if that type of person isn't converting at the level you need, scaling it won't fix it. It will just magnify the gap. Alignment means the right audience with the right expectation for the right offer at the right stage. And you can't shortcut that with budget. This is why I always say organic builds signal, alignment sharpens signal, and paid scales signal, in that order. So before you think about amplification, ask yourself, am I attracting the right people or just attracting attention? Because those are not the same thing. And this is where amplification actually becomes exciting, because now you're scaling clarity, not guessing. Before we go any further, just a quick check. Which phase do you honestly think you're in right now? Validation, alignment, or amplification? Let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely interested where most people sit right now, because the answer to that question changes your next move completely. So if paid isn't the first move, when does it become the right move? When you have signal, when you have alignment, when you have proof, because amplification is powerful. Let's go back to the gym. This time something different happens. They launch the same coaching offer, but instead of rushing to boost it, they refine the message. They tighten the positioning. They speak directly to the specific type of client. Busy professionals, serious about long-term progress, willing to commit. They post organically, and this time they get consistent DMs, real inquiries, people referencing specific points from the content, 4 signups without paid traffic. That's signal. Signal isn't just engagement, it's measurable response. And just to be clear, when I say conversion rate, I simply mean the percentage of people who take the action you want, whether that's buying, inquiring, or booking. For example, if you're a service business and 10 people inquire organically and 2 or 3 convert, that's signal. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be predictable, because amplification only works when predictability exists. Now, when they put money behind that exact message, it scales. And here's where money becomes simple maths. At its simplest, the equation looks like this. Customer value multiplied by conversion rate gives you an idea of what you can afford to spend to acquire a customer. That's your allowable acquisition cost. So if a new client is worth £1,000 to your business and you convert roughly 1 in 4 qualified inquiries, that means for every 4 serious inquiries, you generate £1,000. So each inquiry on average is worth £250 to you. Now, you wouldn't spend £250 to generate 1 inquiry, you need margin. But if you can acquire a qualified inquiry for £40, £60 or even £80, you're not guessing anymore. You're making a calculated decision, because now you understand the relationship between what a client is worth, how often you convert, and what you can afford to spend. That's when paid stops feeling like gambling and starts feeling like maths. You calculate what makes sense. That's when paid stops feeling emotional and starts feeling strategic. Now take the online coach. Instead of running ads immediately, they test their webinar organically. They refine the hook. They clarify the outcome, they adjust the pricing conversation. Conversion rate improves, not because of traffic, because of clarity. Now when they run ads to that same webinar, they're not hoping. They know it converts. They're scaling something that already works. And now e-commerce. One product consistently sells through organic traffic. Reviews are strong, repeat purchases happen. The return rate is low. And if that product converts organically at a healthy, consistent rate, that's signal. The exact number varies by industry. What matters here is consistency, because without that baseline, paid traffic is guesswork. Now with that baseline, paid traffic is leverage. And this is the shift. Paid is a multiplier. Multiplying 0 still gives you 0. But multiplying something that works, that's where growth compounds. This is where beginners often get it backwards. They think paid creates certainty, and in reality, paid requires certainty. It requires a clear offer, a clear audience, a clear message, a clear destination, a measurable conversion point. And without those, paid feels unpredictable, but with them, paid becomes controlled. And this is why I'm not anti-ads. I'm anti-ads too early, because once you're validated and aligned, paid stops feeling like a risk and starts feeling like leverage. So the obvious question becomes, how do you actually know which phase you're in? Because this is where most uncertainty lives. You might feel ready for paid, but feeling ready and being ready aren't the same thing. So let's make this practical. There are 3 simple checks. First, have you converted without paid traffic? Not once, not by accident, but consistently enough that you understand why it happened. If nobody is converting organically, amplification won't solve that. Second, do you know exactly which message performs best? Not which one you like the most, not which one sounds clever, but which one consistently drives a response. If you've posted 10 variations of something and one clearly outperforms the rest, that's signal. If everything performs randomly, that's still experimentation. Third, do you know who actually converts? Not who engages, not who comments, but who buys. Are they the audience you thought they'd be? Are they aligned with your pricing? Are they aligned with your positioning? If you can't answer that clearly, then you're still in validation and alignment. And that's not a bad thing, it's just a different phase. This is where a lot of people get impatient. They think paid will create clarity, but paid only accelerates what already exists. If clarity isn't there yet, amplification just speeds up confusion. The reason this matters so much is simple. Paid ads magnify structure. If your structure is solid, paid feels powerful. If your structure is unclear, paid feels chaotic, and chaotic is expensive. So instead of asking, should I run ads? A better question is, have I built enough signal to justify scale? Because once you've built signal, paid stops feeling like a gamble and it becomes a decision. So let's zoom out. Paid ads aren't dangerous. They're powerful. But power applied in the wrong order can feel like a loss. If you try to scale before you validate, you pay for information you could have gathered organically. If you try to amplify before you align, you magnify the wrong audience. And if you rush to paid because things feel slow, you often just accelerate confusion. But once you understand the sequence, the pressure drops, because now you're not guessing, you're building deliberately. First comes validation. You prove the offer resonates. You see real response. You convert without forcing it. Then comes alignment. You refine the message. You sharpen the audience. You close the gap between attention and action. And then, and only then, amplification makes sense. Because now you're not hoping that ads will fix something. You're using them to scale something. Organic builds signal, alignment sharpens signal, paid scales signal, in that order. And when you follow that order, paid stops feeling risky. It starts feeling controlled. If you're in the validation phase, stay there, refine, test, learn. If you're in alignment, sharpen it, clarify it, tighten it. And if you've built signal and alignment, then yes, paid might be the right move, but not before, because paid ads are not the first move. They're the multiplier. And multiplying something strong builds growth. Multiplying something unclear just builds noise. The difference isn't budget, the difference is sequence. In the next video, I'm going to break down what happens when you try to run paid ads for a product before you've built signal. Because that's where a lot of businesses burn budget without realizing why. Now, if this video helped you clarify things, then hit the like button. And if you want smarter marketing decisions, not louder ones, then hit subscribe for new videos every Monday and Thursday, because this channel is about building growth deliberately without rushing it. And I'll see you on the next one.